Hey there everybody, how's it going? Nice to see you again. Thanks for coming out today and watching this. So is it really a $15 Hasselblad X-Pan? Well, obviously not. But if you have a whole bunch of other gear, for $15 you can get an adapter for your Pentax 6.7, and it shoots 35 millimeter film and it shoots 24 by 65 millimeter images on that film, and it gives you about 18 or 19 of them per roll. And so it does the same thing as a Hasselblad X-Pan, but it's not $10,000 for a clean one, which is insane. Now, I mean, there's obviously caveats to that. First of all, you know, you can take your Pentax 6.7 out into the field and you can load it with the 35 millimeter film and you can shoot the X-Pan panoramic images. But one of the big bugaboo in the whole thing is that you need a changing bag and a developing can, or some kind of place to put the film where it won't get fogged, because it's not going back in. I guess you could roll it back into the cassette in the changing bag, but the point is you need to put the whole camera in a changing bag to get the film out of it, because the Pentax 6.7 doesn't rewind the 35 millimeter film. And other than that, the whole thing's pretty convenient and works really well. But getting the film out of the camera is the only real issue I've seen. So off of eBay, you get this little kit for $15. Doesn't come with a roll of film, but it's two little end caps for the 35 millimeter film, and it's a take-up spool for the other side of the camera. And that's all I bought. And then, of course, 35 millimeter film. I bulk load, but for testing purposes, I have an old expired roll of Arista 200. Normally, I shoot Tri-X or Ilford HP5 Plus or Ilford FP4 Plus, and I have 3 bulk loaders that I fill those up with, but I haven't been shooting a lot of 35 millimeter film lately. That might change, because this is a pretty cool thing and it's a lot of fun. So this is all you need to bring with you, and then you can do and a changing bag if you want to use your Pentax 6.7 again before going home, and someplace to put the expired 35 millimeter film. I guess you could really roll it back into the canister. That would be tedious though, but that's a possible solution. So let me show you how to load the 6.7 and you got to trick it a little bit. It's no big deal really, and it works really well. So let me show you how to do that. And I've seen various methods on the internet, on YouTube, people taking the paper from 120 film and laying the 35 millimeter film onto it and then rolling it all. I mean, you know, that's easier than that. And I'll show you the easy way to do it. So let's do that. So here's your Pentax 6.7, and the first thing to do is pop the film release. Well, it doesn't have to be the first thing you do. The first thing you do is probably pop the back. Yeah, it makes more sense. Pull out the film spool holders, and then we're going to get out our spools. I shot a roll of expired roll of Ilford HP5 the other night just to see how the whole thing worked. Yeah, these are 3D printed deals. And there we go, the spool is in. Lock that down. Pop that out. That one goes in the bottom here, like that. And this one goes in the top like so. And then load it like you would and bring it across and stick it in there like so. Move the pressure plate. Let me move this over. This pressure plate has a 120 and a 220. Move it to 220. And the reason for that is 120 has a paper backing on the film and 220 doesn't. So 220 gets a little bit more pressure on the film, keeps it a little flatter. switch your frame counter to 220 so you definitely get the 19 images and not the 10. Before you close the back, turn this to about 1, about there. Close the back, and then you won't waste a bunch of frames. Now, consider the first frame kind of a test, and it's as easy as that. And consider the first frame kind of a test, and don't really start shooting until the second frame. But there you go. Let's shoot this roll and we'll process it and we'll see what the results look like. Now before we get too carried away, let me show you what I did up here. And whenever you take the viewfinder off, always take the lens off first, and you won't have any chain issues. So for the viewfinder, what I did is I got some craft foam and I cut out a 24 by 65 mask and just dropped it in there. And that's just works a treat. So there it is. I see this shot as a 55 millimeter shot. I had the 90 on. It's amazing how good these lenses are and how inexpensive they are. I think the 55 was 250 bucks, and it's like world-class lens. God, I feel like I'm getting away with something. I feel like I stole it. Let's see what that does for me. Yeah, I'm liking that. So if you don't have diopter correction in your viewfinder, like some of these older cameras don't have, just wear your glasses and then you can see perfectly. It's not very convenient, but it works. /60th of a second at f11. The mirror on the 6.7 is such a beast that I pretty much always use a cable release unless I'm like over 1/25th or 2/50th of a second. Mirror up. I said the first shot is a test shot. I'm sure it'll be fine, but just in case it gets cut off a little or something, we'll do a second one. All right, let's find another composition. I can see why people do like the Hasselblad X-Bands, because composing for that panoramic is pretty easy. It like subjects, it really, I don't know, it's weird. It's like you'd think being that wide, you'd have trouble isolating your subjects, but it really picks up uniform patterns and makes them interesting. So it's an interesting format. And you can always go vertical too, which is really interesting. .200 at f11, so 1/25th and 250. But I'd also like I got a really bright blue sky, so I want to pop a red filter on the front. I've got, that's an orange filter. This is just the Koken plastic filters. They're relatively inexpensive, and they fit in the Lee holder, and you just hold it out in front of the lens while you take the picture. I'm assuming it's about a 3-stop. So if I'm at 250, 125, 60, 30 would be 3 stops. So I'll do 30 and a 15. I'm wound. Mirror up, filter in front, gently wind, 15, mirror up, filter in front. There it is. Okay, so there's that with the old red filter. Gonna get hit in the head by the tree here. I'm gonna swap out to the waist level finder. Make this shot a little easier. All right, I like it. No, it's going to be tough metering. F11 1/25 kind of splits the difference. You know, the ringed filter system with the adapters is a pain in the butt, but you know what? When the filters are on, they're on, and I like that. I'm going to open up that as stop. And then I'm going to give it some 4-stop neutral density. And if this is, if the Arista 200 is Fomapan, the reciprocity is a Banshee. So let's do like 15 seconds just to really hammer home the point. So there it is. That's how you shoot 35mm film in your Pentax 6.7. And if you already have a Pentax 6.7 and a changing bag, and I guess a darkroom to develop your film, or like, you know what? It is viable. Roll it back into the cassette, and then you could send it off to have it processed. So you could shoot slide film too that way, and color negative film, and send it off to get processed. So all you have to do is just roll it back into the canister in a changing bag. That's cool. I just, you know, the other night was the first roll of this I'd ever done. And one of the gotchas is I noticed when I got here to do this second test of this process is that I had left the blank 120 spool at home. And so I don't have a spare blank 120 spool. And so anyone who shoots medium format film will know immediately what I'm talking about. So if it was a situation right now where I wanted to put 120 film in my 6.7, let's add a changing bag, I could get the film, the 35mm film out of it, and there was something happening and I just had to get the shot. Like I'd have to sacrifice a roll of film to get a blank spool to put the shot film on. So, because with 120, the roll you just shot is the new spool, take-up spool for the new roll you're shooting. For those of you who aren't familiar with how a medium format camera works. So that's a gotcha. I need to put a spare, but there's usually one in the camera, but now that I'm doing this process with the 35mm and there's no take-up spool, yeah. Okay. So there it is. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Again, these small channels like mine who are not sponsored by large camera corporations and sent on trips. And if I were, I would tell you, and I would be a disclaimer up front. These small channels are not sponsored by anyone. And it's just for the love and the passion and getting honest and clear and good information out there. And so the only way to keep them going is to subscribe, because it's the subscribers that make this worth doing, okay? And so 25% of the people who watch my channel, which is actually, I think, a pretty high percentage, 25% of the people who watch this channel are subscribers, which is awesome. But that means that 75% of the people who watch this channel are not. So please subscribe. It's the #1 thing you can do to help me out and to keep me doing this. And I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Have a great one, and we'll see you out here. Bye.